Okay. And Ms. Van Rynbroek, I don't know if you want me to call on you or Ms. Vera, but you get ready to go?
We are prepared, and we're both prepared to speak to different points, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on the record then in the case of the state of Wisconsin versus Khari Sanford, case 20 CF 886. Appearances, please.
William Brown for the state of Wisconsin.
Mr. Sanford appears in custody in court via Zoom online with attorneys Crystal Vera and Diana Van Rynbroek.
Okay, thank you. First thing I think we should do is make sure that Mr. Sanford can hear us. Mr. Sanford, if we could we have you just reply to indicate whether you can hear the proceedings? I see a thumbs up there, I think. Okay, great. Thank you for filling us in on that. Let's get this case assigned to branch 11 because I believe that Judge Burrs is assigned to the pending case and to the co-defendant's action. We should confirm receipt of the criminal complaint. Did the defense get a copy of the complaint?
We did receive a copy of the criminal complaint about 20 minutes or so, and it looks like Mr. Sanford was given a copy in person. We do waive its formal reading at this time and would like the address to be updated to the Dane County Jail.
Okay, very good. We'll accomplish that. What is the state's position regarding bail, Mr. Brown?
The state will request that bail be set at $1 million cash for Mr. Sanford. There's really no other way to put it. This was a brutal execution. The medical examiner here has indicated that both victims were shot in the head. Both victims shot from a very close range, at least with the male victim, that range being 1 to 3 feet away based on stippling found. There were 357 shells, or spent shells, casings, found at the scene, indicating numerous gunshots were fired, consistent with statements from people who live near the UW Arboretum, indicating gunshots were fired around 11:05 p.m. That, combined with the fact that the co-defendant's phone, who the defendant is purported to have been with the entire time, has them circling the victim's residence on Rowley Avenue numerous times before ultimately ending up at the Arboretum, leads one to believe that the victims were taken alive from their residence in their pajamas and underwear, and then shot in the head in the UW Arboretum, perhaps just once, but perhaps more times. It's a bit early in the autopsy process to be able to say for certain that. But we do know that there were numerous shots fired at that point. The evidence tying Mr. Sanford to this crime is frankly overwhelming at this point. In addition to the probably the most incriminating piece of evidence, which was statements he made to a citizen witness identified in the criminal complaint, that he in fact did shoot the folks involved, and was concerned after hearing in the news that one of them was alive. There is ample evidence to suggest that Mr. Sanford was in fact driving around the city of Madison in the location of the victim's residence and the place where the victims were ultimately shot around the time of the shooting. His van, the van that was in the possession of the victim's daughter, who Mr. Sanford resides with at an Airbnb, said that, well, she initially said that he was with her during that time. That was proved to be false. The van is seen on city surveillance camera. It's seen on UW camera, along with private security camera throughout the city of Madison, driving in the area of the UW Arboretum. Mr. Sanford had full access to that. In addition to those facts, there are numerous pictures that have been discovered in the course of the investigation of Mr. Sanford with firearms. There's evidence to suggest that someone in either him or closely associated with him was Googling Glock's 357 or Glock 31 357, which happens to be the exact caliber of weapon that was fired that killed the victims here. The evidence is just simply overwhelming. I'd ask for $1 million cash bail to be set. I think obviously the conditions, if he should post, should be no contact with the victim's family, specifically Beth Potter, Khari, who he was residing with, and who has made statements in the course of this investigation that are not true in an apparent effort to protect him. I would ask also that the victim's family he had no contact with the victim's family at all in the course of this case. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the defense?
Commissioner, we're fine with the non-monetary conditions. We'll reiterate a lot of what Attorney Colby mentioned. this case is still ongoing and pending. It is a serious case, and no one's denying the seriousness of the charge or the case itself. As far as Mr. Sanford goes, he is innocent until and if proven guilty. The state is still investigating. They don't even know the strength of their own case until this investigation is done. Mr. Sanford was in the middle of his senior year waiting for colleges to respond back to his applications. He was an active participant in the school. He was captain of the football team until from his freshman year up until now. I bring this up because there's factors that you should consider in setting the cash bail. And I agree that $1 million is just too much, even with everything that the state has said in the complaint. This isn't just someone that is alone. He has a lot of community support as well. And Attorney Van Rybrook will talk to that.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like the court to know, in terms of community ties, Khari has a number of people in the community, a number of leaders in Madison who have reached out to us. And they have done that because they wish to vouch for Khari. They wish to offer their support for Khari. They wish to help him and help us in any way that they can. There has been, we believe, an insatiable amount of interest in this case this past week. There's been an incredible amount of speculation surrounding this case. And as you said yourself, Commissioner, there's a lot that we don't know about this case. So while we agree these allegations are serious, we ask everybody to remember that these are merely allegations, these are merely accusations. And while Khari is now today charged, he is presumed innocent. He has not been found guilty. And so we ask that people suspend their judgment and not rush to judgment. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Vero, is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, that's it, Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay. I have had an opportunity to look at the allegations in the criminal complaint. They're supported by probable cause. It is correct that in the co-defendant's hearing, I made the comment about there being a lot we don't know, and that's true, because this is the very first public filing in this criminal case. And there's going to be a lot of hearings from here, and that will include a trial where the state will have an opportunity to try to prove its case. The state has to prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt before Mr. Sanford is found guilty or before a consequence is imposed. My job is to make sure that that trial can occur, and that is that if a bail is set, that it's set in a way that assures his appearance in court, and in terms of at least setting conditions of bond, I have to look to the issue of whether those conditions are rationally designed to protect the public safety, the safety of victims, etc. As I commented during the initial appearance for the co-defendant, it is very difficult to put a number on a bond in a case where somebody is accused of a homicide. It's probably even more difficult in a case where somebody is accused of having committed 2 homicides. A number I have to put on it, though, because the law requires that. Wisconsin law does require that, other than some very unusual circumstances and proceedings that aren't present and haven't been filed, a defendant has the right to have a bail of some sort set. It is clearly a cash bail case. It's clearly a substantial cash bail case. I've heard a lot of positive things about Mr. Sanford and people out in the community who support him, who care about him, who he's developed relationships with, and who probably take a very different view of what's alleged here than the state does. And I respect that. We're all pretty complicated. That's part of being human, and that's true whether you're a criminal defendant, whether you're a court commissioner, or whether you're a lawyer or anyone else. And there are a lot of facets to our life. This case is one where he's alleged to be apparently a high school senior, very involved in a lot of pro-social activities and having those connections. He's also alleged to have kidnapped and murdered 2 people by shooting them in the head in a criminal complaint, and he's alleged to have done that while already on a bail. I just can't see that a cash bail at any amount less than what the state's requested would be appropriate or would assure his appearance in court for that court proceeding. I say that acknowledging upfront, as I did, that putting a number on these things is to some extent unseemly, and it's also extraordinarily difficult to do. We're going to get the case scheduled for a preliminary hearing. We're going to get that scheduled, I believe, next Thursday, the 6th. Well, the clerk can fill me in on the date. I think it's the 16th at 9 o'clock.
Yes, the prelim would be April 16th at 9 o'clock in branch 4. And Commissioner, are you adopting the conditions that were requested in this case?
Thank you for seeking that clarification. I am adopting the state's requested conditions as part of the $1 million bail that's been set. Mr. Sanford, you do have a couple of very skilled lawyers who are looking out for your interests. I'm sure they're going to be in touch with you. You can talk with them about any options for having bail reviewed at that hearing next week as well. I hope things start to get better for everyone concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.